Hi, everyone. My name is Monique Quimlott, and I'm your host for this grief podcast. And today, I'm actually being interviewed by my husband just to kind of give you guys, a reason of why I even started this podcast. How did it come about? And even share with you the people that I've lost in my life.
So I get to play host, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because every week you'll be hearing from her, interviewing different people that are going to different parts of the journey of grief. But today we just felt like it was important for her to kind of share her vision about why we're doing this and how it came about. So why don't you start there, babe? Like, why don't you just kind of share the reasons why you've wanted to start a podcast about grief?
So this initially came about after I experienced my middle brother, David. I have two older siblings and I'm the youngest. David is my middle brother and he passed in 2017. And just going through the thick of grief, and I was so lost. I didn't really know a lot of people my age going through grief, losing a sibling. Yes, I've lost other family members, but it's so different when it's like your immediate family. And so I wanted a platform, a space for people to connect with, for people to see. Even me being Mexican and Filipino and my age, I'm 35. I think sometimes people think grief is, happens later in life, but no, it can happen on any time, any season of life. And I wanted there to be somewhere for people to connect with and see, wow, like I relate to that, or I'm not crazy, or this was so helpful, because there wasn't really much that I had seen, especially being a brown culture. And yeah, I just hope that this podcast brings healing and glorifies Jesus at the end of the day.
Yeah, because one of the things that we value a lot in our family, we talk about this all the time, is cultural and ethnic, representation, and just we love the cultures that we belong to. But as much as that we love about our different cultures, there's also sometimes hindrances or obstacles, especially when it comes to grief and talking about it and stuff. Why don't you actually just realize this? Why don't you tell your listeners what your ethnicities are? Because you have the whole world.
Yes, no.
There's so many.
Sure.
So much. What's your background?
Yes.
Culturally?
So my dad is German, half German and Irish, and that's my grandfather. And then my grandmother is Mexican from Mexico City. My mother's mom is Mexican from Texas, and she has Spanish in her as well. And then my grandfather on my mom's side is Filipino from Cebu, Philippines.
Awesome. Yep. And then I don't know if you forgot to mention that you're going to get here, but one of the other reasons why you wanted to share this podcast or start this podcast was, well, one, you didn't really want to, did you?
No, definitely not.
Why? What was that? And then what changed?
Yeah. I think obviously this is new for me. I've never, started a podcast. This is brand new. I think anytime you're starting something new, it's scary and it's unknown, but it just kept coming up. Like I really just kept feeling like the Lord was like, you need to start a podcast. Like people need to hear your stories and your friends' stories and people that you know in the community that have experienced loss, so that they don't feel alone.
Yeah.
That they feel seen and that there's a community of people. Yes, it's a community we wish we didn't belong to, but there is a community of people that are hurting, and you don't have to do it, alone. And I just more and more, I just kept praying, and people even encouraged me or giving me, prophetic words, and just like, yes, this is from God. Like, you need to do it. So I was like, okay, God, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
but if this is what you want, like, I just want to be obedient, but like, send me the people. I need the people, because I'm like, yes, I can talk and interview, but I don't have equipment. I don't have setup. And he did. He sent me JC and, so many other people were like, yes, I support you. I really do feel like this is going to be, so great. And I feel like all my prayers have been answered, even though I'm nervous and scared.
Yeah, for sure. And there has been such a huge support for our surrounding community. So thank you for everyone that has been praying in our various circles. We even have people internationally, like people that are waiting to get the link when it comes out. But thank you for everyone that has supported Monique and our family in this. So you mentioned it briefly a little bit about your family, obviously, in dynamics. So you're the youngest of 3 children. You have a middle brother, David, who passed away in 2017. And then your oldest brother, Gordo, or John Jr., actually, he passed away. Was it 2022? Gosh. It's crazy how time, like, just, it's such a crazy thing for us. We always talk about this, but it feels like a long time, but also not. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are grieving the loss of? I don't know who you want to start with.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about their personality and maybe your favorite memory.
Yeah, that's good. I think I'll start with David because, it was 2017. It's 6 years now. And, me and David, we were so close. We were only a year apart. And when he passed, he was just short of a month and a half till his 30th birthday. And, growing up childhood, he was like my second dad. If I had to go, if we were going to play outside or rollerblade or go biking, my dad was always on him, really, to be like, make sure you take care of your sister. Where's your sister going? If we're going to the movies or we're hanging out with friends, I just always had my brother around, and he was kind of like my shadow. Like, I know he's always watching me. And so even though sometimes that was hard or annoying, I really always knew that I was taken care of because I had my brother around me all the time. And so I think growing up with that relationship with him is just so meaningful to me and something that I do miss. I think he's such a big jokester. And, my brother, David, he's 6'2", so he's tall and 5'6". And so, man, he would like chokehold me, even though I'm like a girl growing up with 2 brothers, like he really wanted me to be strong, and to always stick up for myself and have a voice. And it
wasn't even like play fighting. Like, no, it was like we for real.
Yeah. And so, I would get mad and then laugh and cry and just, but, he wanted me to be strong. And so I really thank him for that, But yeah, we did a lot together. We did sports together. A lot of his friends are my really close friends, and we just did life together a lot, being our ages so close. And then Gordo, he's 4 years older than me. And, being the first child, he was actually kind of quiet. I feel, my brother, since he was born, had complications at birth, and he was diagnosed with autism, and, he had his challenges growing up and as an adult, but he was so tender. He had such a tender and like soft spoken like heart, towards people. And he was such a feeler, and, he cared deeply about his family, and I know he was so proud of our family and proud, to be the big brother. And he was hilarious. Like, if you knew Gordo, he loved all things nerdy, video games, like, Avengers, Star Wars, like. And
also like old school, like cartoons. I love that he loved like Thundercats.
Yes, the underdogs.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And he was covered in tattoos of all his like favorite characters. And he was just not afraid to be himself and to have fun and laugh. And I think a lot of our conversations through text or Instagram messages were sharing memes to each other, you know. And I miss that. I miss that relationship with him and doing that with him a lot.
Well, as much as you feel comfortable, you know, like how do you remember the moment when you found out that you had lost David, and the moment when you had lost Gordo, you know? Maybe tell a little bit about those details if you can recall.
Yeah. For David, I was at home with, I have two beautiful sons. They're 8 and 10 now. But with David, we were at home, and I think you had left. It was a Sunday and in the evening, and you had left to go to the gym. So you were gone. I was just hanging out with the kids. I think we were just watching a movie or a show, and my mom calling me, and she was just screaming. I couldn't even really make out what she was saying. It was just a lot. And I'm just like, slow down. You know, what are you saying? What are you talking about? And she just kept saying, David's gone. David's gone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, my brain wasn't catching up, you know, and he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. And I just was like, okay, like I'm gonna go to the house. And, you know, we live in Chula Vista. My parents lived in National City at the time. And you were gone. I remember calling you. I think I called you and was like, hey, you need to come home right now. But then we had the boys, and they were so little. I was really scared. Like, do I bring them? What's the scene going to be? I didn't know how to react as a parent, you know, for the boys. And so I called one of my close friends. I called Jay and Chris and then Chris Ceballos. He's like another brother to me. He came over, and he stayed with the boys because I was so fearful. I didn't want to scar them. I didn't know. It was just my first time. And yeah, that whole scene was just paramedics, firefighters, all the lights, all the neighbors outside, you know, even family that was already there before me, because I'm trying to get everything situated with the kids. It was a lot. It was a lot. And same thing with Gordo. Yeah. I mean,
you have to go a little bit because it's kind of odd in a way that there's some similarities even. So David passed at home with your parents in his room. They found him that Sunday morning, that Sunday afternoon, actually, like you said. And then with Gordo, what happened?
Yeah. And then same thing, my mom, I think I just got home from like getting a massage.
Oh yeah, you did. And we were watching Spider-Man.
Then, you and the boys are watching Spider-Man, and we're sitting on the couch, and then my mom calls me, and I'm like, okay, I'll call her back, you know, because I had just got home. I'm like, what are the kids doing? What are you guys doing? Then she calls me again, and then she calls you, and I was like, oh, something happened. Like she wouldn't keep calling me and then call you.
I saw your face in that moment when we were sitting here actually in the couches, and I was like, oh, your mom's calling. This is important. This is different. And so we answered it, but you answered it, my phone.
Yeah.
Do you remember what she was saying in the moment?
So the same. She was just kind of screaming, Gordo's gone. Gordo's gone. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean, Mom? Did you try this? Did you try that? Like, what's happening? Like, she's like, no. Like, and then I actually could hear my dad on the phone giving him CPR because he's talking to a paramedic over the phone. Yeah. And so again, same thing. I'm like, oh my, like my body starts freaking out. I think I started hyperventilating a little bit. Like my body was shaking. Yeah.
You went in the other room because we had both boys right here, and you were trying to catch your bearings. They knew, obviously they're old enough at 9 and 7 at that point, right? Oh no, that's what they are now. But they were old enough to comprehend like, oh my gosh, something happened with Uncle Gordo. Yeah.
And then same thing. I'm like, okay, do we take them with them this time? And so we did. we took them, but I had asked you to call, your parents to come pick them up. So same scene, paramedics, ambulance, people outside, neighbors, and I run in and, I see my brother on the floor and the paramedics are trying to resuscitate him and talking with the police and saying we can't even go near him because I'm trying to what happened, what's going on, and they're blocking the doorway and just that whole scene was really it's a lot.
Do you feel okay sharing what happened, as far as how we lost Gordo? Because at this time, actually, obviously the whole world was going through a similar thing, with COVID, the onset of COVID. All of us had gotten it, including Gordo, but that day was different results.
Yeah, so we had got COVID in the new year, right after Christmas, which I'm sure, a lot of people did too. And we were distancing each other from our families, stay healthy, safe, let it bypass, the 2 weeks. And then Gordo still had some, flu-like symptoms, just like the rest of us, and thought it was normal.
Yeah, he was on the mend. Yeah.
We were all on the mend.
Yeah.
And I think by then we were already seeing each other. Yeah, because he passed on the 14th of January. And my parents saw him that morning. My brother lives with my parents, and he ate. My dad was talking to him. Then my dad, that was earlier in the day, and then my dad cooked food and went to go tell my brother, hey, the food's ready, you want to eat? And he wasn't responding. And so he kept knocking on the door, no responding. And, even if my brother was asleep, he would just say, I'm not hungry, and then that's it. So my dad opened the door, because same thing, with David, they were trying to wake him up for church Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And he wasn't responding, so they just thought he was asleep. And then my mom felt like the Lord told her, you need to open the door, find the key to open the door. So my dad told my mom, hey, he's not responding. And so found the key, opened the door, and he found my brother, already gone. So it, happened within minutes.
It was the frozen pizza. The details are crazy, but your dad put a frozen pizza in the oven, let him know, hey, popping it in, and your brother said, I'm going to lay down for a little bit.
Yeah.
By the time that was done, he was gone. Yeah. So it's been a roller coaster. It's been a lot this last few years. Grief, I don't know if you can describe it. How has it been a similar journey when you lost David, and it's a similar journey to when you lost Gordo? Were they the same? How would you describe grief look like for you?
Yeah, hard. Devastating. Going through, grief share and seeing things online. Someone drew a picture of a ball, and I feel for me, I related to it so much, where it's this ball, you're always going to carry it with you once you've experienced loss. This grief is always staying with you. It's never going away. And that's 100% true. And so I feel some days, okay, the ball feels it's 5 pounds. And then maybe next week it's 10 pounds. And certain days it's oh, this ball is 50 pounds. I can barely take 2 steps, And so for me, that's what grief looks like. It's so up and down. Yes, with David's, I felt, because it was so new, that it was definitely a lot harder for me in the beginning. And I was in therapy for a year after David passed.
Yeah.
And then with Gordo's, therapy as well, not as long, but it was all too familiar. That doesn't mean that it didn't hurt the same.
Yeah.
But I at least knew, okay, you have to call this person and you have to start planning the funeral, and this is what you need. And so in that way, I kind of knew a little bit more what to do logistically. But man, yeah.
Yeah.
Still hard.
Maybe this will also be a blessing or helpful to anyone that is going through grief, but there were certain records and thoughts going through your mind too. There's this mental, psychological, emotional reality in grief. There's one physically, man, there were days that you probably described that where physically you were in pain, but there was a different pain that I would see just as your husband that you're going through also, that a lot of people can probably relate to, is the regrets or the guilt. Can you describe any of those things?
Yeah, definitely. Physical part, yeah, just days you can't even get out of bed, even to like shower or want to be in community or go to birthday parties and celebrating holidays.
Yeah.
It's hard because I think there's a lot of mentally you're thinking like, okay, I want to continue to move on and celebrate life, but like, how can you do that without your loved one here anymore? Like, how can you continue to like move on with your life, or you see other people moving on with their life and they're laughing or they're joking or they're going here and they're going there. You're like, wait, how does the world keeps going? But like my life stopped. It really felt like it stopped. And so, yeah, I think the mental challenges of that, or feeling alone, or that no one understands you, or you're still mourning, or you're still sad, or just thinking like you can't even talk about your loved one to someone because one, you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, or there she goes again, talking about her dead brothers, and just all these lies really at the end of the day, that might make you feel like you can't process your grief with someone else. And I definitely struggled with those things.
That's such a huge part and reason for why you even wanted to start this, right? Like you wanted to dispel some of those lies that might want to keep people from sharing what's really eating at their heart and like causing them so much secret pain. There's so many people that suffer in silence, and I just know that you want to create an outlet so that people don't have to do that, right?
Yes, definitely.
So proud of you. I should say that. Well, I guess with that said, what has been helpful, like in your journey of grief? What has been the most impactful for you to make sure that you weren't suffering in silence?
I think community. I've said this before, like find your people. Maybe you don't have a big friend group, or you're not, have a church that you're connected with, but try to find that, pray for that, because that is a big reason why I'm still like standing, because I had people in my corner, like praying for me, pursuing me, texting me, calling me, even when I didn't respond back, they still pursued me, dropping off food, sending me gift cards, just being present with me. I know it's awkward. It's weird. If you haven't experienced loss, like what do you say to someone? And there really is nothing to say. Like you can say that, I don't have anything to say, but like be present. And people did that with me and just sat with me and let me cry and let me talk about my loved one, and I didn't feel judged, or they didn't feel like they had to fix me or say the right thing or say the right Bible verse and encourage me, because, and people have, and I appreciate it, but we're too in the thick of it, to see that, in the moment. And so I just really appreciate my community so much, for doing that for me and my family.
And because of your family and because of your friends helping you through your grief, was there anything that you were kind of like surprised about, or surprised as you were learning about yourself, like in this journey of grief? Is there anything that like, wow, I didn't really know that about me, or about life, about God, about anything? I don't like to ask people for help. And so, man, being so vulnerable, and obviously I thank my parents for raising me to be a strong, independent person. But also when things are hard, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be sad. I don't know how everyone feels about the Enneagram, but my Enneagram is 7. And that's like the joyful person, happy person, like life of the party person. But during grief, I was definitely not that person. And a lot of that person has changed since experienced grief. And so just learning to be okay with that and being vulnerable of how I'm feeling and not feeling like
I need to change for someone else. And my relationship with Jesus, like, man, I grew up in the church, but this hit me into my core.
Yeah. How, I mean, that's a perfect segue, but how has your faith changed as you've experienced grief?
Man, you would read about, what is like the shortest verses in the Bible, Jesus wept, and you're like, yeah, Jesus wept. But man, I think when you've experienced grief, you really are like, man, Jesus was like us. Like, he had all the power and all the authority. He knew he was going to raise Lazarus. Like, why did he pause and cry? I just really never, that became so real to me when I would read the scripture, and I related to that so much that like, he's not this so distant God when it comes to grief. Like, he knows exactly what we're going through, and it's okay to cry. And I've just never felt such a closeness of God and during grief, because man, I was angry at God. I was really upset with him. I questioned his authority. I questioned his power. And it was hard, for me. But man, even through my doubt and my fickle, like up and down wordness towards him, like, he still pursued me. He still loved me. And I've never felt him be so real and so tangible in my life through grief.
And I can attest, like, as her husband, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I'm a pastor for Restored Church South Bay, and it was so hard, like, when being with Monique and watching her mom and dad and people in our community really in the midst of grief have to, and I don't know if that's the right way to use, but be in worship, like musical worship. And I would look down at Mo, and you didn't even have the strength to sing. You would talk about this from other places, but you wouldn't have the strength to sing, but to have the fight, enough fight to be present, like wanting the music to wash over her, to be present in the lyrics, and the lyrics became like your prayer, And I just always was such aware, like, man, just the fight to be present was such a real one, and especially as all of you were walking through this with the Lord, Do you mind if I transition to talking about your brothers a little bit and your family? But is there anything that your family does to kind of honor Gordo and David?
Yeah, so with David, I mean, he loved a lot of things, but one of his things he loved doing was fishing. And so on his death anniversary, which is January 8th, we go to IB. IB, Imperial Beach, is a place that I grew up going a lot with my family and with friends, and that pier. So we kind of go to IB and we hang out and we kind of just sit, and reflect. And that place just always reminds me of him. And we go out to eat, on his birthday. And yeah, I think just doing things that remind you of your loved one, it brings you closer to them, and that sense of them still being here with us, And for Gordo, it's only been a year and a half, and for him, I think just being with the family and getting together for dinner, that was his favorite thing. Like, he loved being with the family. He loved dinner time, and
he loved going to like places.
Yes,
we like taking trips.
Yes, taking trips. Universal Studios, Disneyland. He was all about being with the family. Anything that would be with the family, and so doing those activities, in honor of him. Getting the kids jarritos, that was one of his favorite drinks. And so just enjoying some of the things that they like to do and honor and like remember them.
And why do you think that's important? Like, because I think it's interesting. Sometimes we might think that's normal, but not everyone thinks to even do anything traditional or rhythm like to honor their loved ones. Why do you think that should be something people should consider, at least?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's not easy because, you go to these places and you're like, oh man, like they're not here. So you're faced with that reality again. Like, man, I should be enjoying this with my loved one at this place. So I get that could be a hard thing. But it truly is part of like the healing journey, because you are sitting and you're pausing and you're reflecting. And those things are still fun and important to do, and I think it continues to honor them, and even inviting your family or friends that were close with your loved ones to do it with you too, because then people start sharing memories and stories, things I haven't even heard about my brothers, or things that they did with them, and pictures, and that's important,
Yeah, we have friends that have done all kinds of different things. I mean, people that raised balloons up into the clouds and they wrote letters to their loved ones, or some people have planted like trees or some kind of plants to see that their love is still growing for those that they've lost. So I don't know, get creative with it, right?
Yeah.
I think my last question is for someone that is going through grief right now, what is something that you want to say directly to them?
Yeah, I think so many things, man. But I think just to dive deep in it. I know it's scary, and I know it's hard and it's painful. But I think if you're willing to do the work and, get into therapy, talk about it. I know it's hard, but I think when you dive deep, you really experience healing. Because there are so many things that you can distract yourself with. And some things are good, to still enjoy. But I think you'll be surprised about how your grief journey will look when you start proactively, like getting the help that you need and talking about it. Because you're not alone. And it's important to see that, yes, you're in the thick of it right now and it's hard, but it's not always going to feel that heavy.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about the ball later, like in the beginning, man, that ball feels like 50 pounds, and I think over time and with community and with therapy and being outside, being in God's creation, like go out, like still try to enjoy life, because it still is worth living for. There's still so much good that God's doing in your life, even if you can't see it right now. Like God is still real and present and ever faithful, and you can trust him even when it's hard, and that there's people that love you and care about you and want to be there for you.
Right. Well, that's it for now, I believe, because we wanted to kind of ration out pieces of her story. You didn't want to say everything in one episode, but I'm sure you're going to be sharing a lot more of your story, your journey, as you have various guests. We have people planned already, and lined up to share kind of their experiences. We'll be talking about relationships, even their faith, what therapy could look like, all kinds of things. And so I just want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope that you would subscribe to the show, follow the show. With that, babe, can I just pray for you and pray for this podcast? We don't have a name, just gonna full disclosure. Maybe by the time you hear this episode, there will be a name. So you're getting this at kind of like a vulnerable state, but it's gonna be cool. Like we've been real prayerful about, God, what do you want this to look like? What do you want it to be about? What do you want it to be named? All that. So stick around and you'll find out. So can I pray?
Yes.
So awkward. Can you reach me? No. All right. There. If you're watching, you'll see this, but if you're not, we're struggling to. All right, let me pray. Father God, I just want to thank you so much for your grace and your faithfulness and your goodness in the midst of really hard things. God, the reality of this side of heaven is that it's still filled with pain and brokenness and loss and the reality of sin and death. But God, we thank you so much that that's not where your story ends. That's not the story where the story ends for all of us that have put our faith in Jesus. And so God, I'm just asking for more grace, more of your presence as we continue to share what you're doing in our hearts and in the hearts of the people in our community and anyone else that might be going through a similar journey. The harder, darker chapters are never easy, but God, I just thank you that you're a good author that's not done writing. And so we love you and we thank you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys, we'll see you, or thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.